tell me what role trust plays in unschooling from the parents' perspective and from the kids' perspective.
Very, very big role. I don't even know how to like start with this one. First, it goes on the parent to trust in their kid, because the whole point of this is, yes, the parent must help with a few things, like giving them that push when they need it, and all that, or directing them in a certain way to help them at least. But the whole thing with this lifestyle is the freedom of learning, right? So they have to give a lot, put a lot of trust in their kid, you know, and kind of hope, or well, like trust, I guess,
Uh,
that what their kid is doing is best for them. But that doesn't mean don't involve yourself in the process. You can definitely
Obviously.
help. You can find that way. You can find that balance to connect with your child enough, but also make sure that they're getting something out of it.
Wow, that.
Because even though it may restrict some of their freedom, right? Maybe they'll see. It's such a complex and very
It is
interesting issue,
complex.
but you know there is a balance, and based on who what kind of people the parents or the kids are, they will find their own balance. But they have to trust in the system of that freedom. First they have to kind of give into it, and then you can find something that works. It's like on the last episode, your guest said that unschooling is anarchy, right? So because he was asked to describe it in one word.
Yeah.
I would say it's more reform. It's the reform after the anarchy. The anarchy itself is giving in to that whole chaos, right?
Right,
And
right,
then the
right, right.
reform is you putting all the pieces back together in a way that suits you as a family.
Yep. Deep stuff, dude. I'm telling you, write a book. Do you feel like a misfit?
Uh, that's a good one. I guess in most ways, I am, but it depends on the kind of the environment. In society as a whole, probably, because unschoolers are a minority in that sense as a group. You know,
Yeah.
but it depends on like if you're with your friends and stuff. I don't necessarily feel like a misfit when I'm with my friends and all, which are mostly like are in college or in high school. I feel like I can talk to them just as anybody else for most things. Now it depends on how understanding those people are, really, because they do come from different backgrounds. Like
Yeah.
you know, um, people like I'm friends with like one of my coaches, right? For when I used to play Overwatch, very very mainstream ideology. In the end, he decided to give up playing itself and just coaching
Oh
because
shit.
he wanted to become a bioengineer,
Oh,
and he thought that would be the best bet. And
interesting.
even though we were still like we're friends of a sort, there's no way in hell I could talk to him about any of the like unschooling things that I could talk to like about any of my other more understanding friends or my unschooling friends, because he just wouldn't understand. That perspective is not there. And I feel like in some ways unschoolers have a greater perspective on these things because they have an outside view.
That's true. I
they
agree. I
they
agree
see
with you.
everything for what it is. Now we obviously can't be 100% on what actually goes on inside a school for the most part. But for me, like I can say with decent certainty, like I have a good idea, because you hang out with those kind of people, they end up talking, and then you really
Yeah.
do get a sense of what
Yep.
goes on, and you would never really be able to understand what life without the school would be like if you're in that system, because they keep you close-minded in that sense.
So tell me one thing you want to change. Like you want the world to be changed. Like I see this issue with perspectives with a lot of people, like the open mindedness. So what is the one or many, it can be many things. You can tell me what do you want this world to be more open about?
So basically, right?
Yeah.
I'd say that, and this is something that even like kids who go to school and like people who went to school acknowledge that the school system is very flawed, deeply flawed,
It is.
in the sense that they feed you like all this information, right, that you're expected to retain for maybe a few weeks. You get the test, you forget about that, you move on to the next concept without actually permanently absorbing it, right? In most cases, because unless you're actually interested in the subject, who the fuck cares, right? Why are you gonna
Yeah.
why are you gonna remember all that shit? And they don't
Obviously.
teach you, they don't necessarily teach you like social skills. You have to learn it completely by yourself, like business skills, like real life things,
Yep.
they don't teach you like nearly any of that.
Yep.
You have to learn by yourself in that way, but you also don't have the time to, because you go to this thing called school, right?
Yeah.
So it's a very I don't know, it's a very flawed system, very like inefficient, and it only
Yeah, it
works
is.
for the people who can like really like set themselves in that kind of way. So I'm not saying that school like is overall bad. It works for quite a few people as well, but there are definitely some things that could make it more efficient. More efficient place to learn. Be like even such a thing as mental health. They give their like they say like, oh, we like if you have depression, do this and do that, but they don't really focus on it. They just like, okay, whatever. We move on real fast. They
Yeah.
don't focus like that's a another big thing I could get into, but it's they focus on the outcome and not the root of the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Agreed.
it's quite
You're
it's quite a weak analogy, but you get the
No,
you,
but
you
but
understand it.
I would like to talk about this बहुत detail में. We can do one thing. We can dedicate a whole podcast on this only,
Yeah, no
because
problem.
it's a big, because it's, I think, I don't think kabhi there's a unschooler perspective on this, so it would be awesome. What are your thoughts on unschooling community in India?
I'd say definitely more accessible than New Jersey.
Seriously?
Seriously, because
Wow.
it doesn't matter how many people there are. Like especially in the state of New Jersey, for the most part, if you want to get somewhere, you have to take the highway, and that
Ooh.
means you have to drive.
Hmm.
And well, unless you have a license, you're screwed. It makes things quite a lot harder to get with people and get to the community. At least in India, it's dense, but it's also more accessible. You can take the
It
auto
is.
anywhere you want to go. You know,
Yeah.
um, and yeah, I would have even you can Uber here too, but I mean it's too expensive. It's too expensive. It's not worth it.
Mm-hmm. So
Like,
if I give you a choice, uh, would you shift to India?
no, I wouldn't. Um, I think this country, the US is about to go to shit, and it is already. But the issue is that I will not get the same opportunity in terms of my career and all that
Yeah,
that
obviously,
I do in India.
that's
Yeah,
completely true.
yeah.
Esports in India, people are not open-minded about that, and
It's
there's
it's not
no.
even that necessarily. It's that their orientation is different. As a country. If I was going to move to South Korea, then maybe I'd consider it. You know,
True.
South Korea, maybe even like some places in Europe, because like FPS games in Europe are a big thing, especially in like the Netherlands, Russia.
How did the family react with because everyone's case is a bit different. How did yours react with the whole concept
S-
of unschooling?
Um, I'm sure at first they were like, "What the hell are they doing?" Like so
Different.
confused. But I mean, for the most part, like at least on my like we have some family members who are pretty open-minded in that sense. They must have thought it was strange at first, but even like I have a cousin actually who is unschooled. Her name is Avni,
Or
and they live in Boston actually. For the most part, my family is fairly like all right with the concept, because I kind of I explained to them, like, hey, this is like a more directed thing. I can choose what I want to learn and all that, and like I'll be more effective in what I want to do. You know, so when you explain it to that, they kind of understand. But again, sometimes like when I'm talking to strangers, let's say, I kind of cheat and say I'm homeschooling. It's definitely, it's not as mainstream, but they'll still get the concept of it. I can't say I'm unschooling. I will never say I'm unschooling because there's too much to explain, and then the judgment aspect of it is quite odd. Their perception can be something very difficult to change.
People are very rigid.
Yeah. Well, again, as I've repeated so many times, completely based on the individual. But yeah, mostly very very rigid in their understanding of it, because
Yeah.
they just don't know enough about it. But that's also like, like I'm kind of one of the problems with that, right? Because I'm not taking that time and explaining it to them. But that's also
Maybe.
because I think I have this like kind of issue where, like, then they'll judge me for no reason. And I don't want to get into that. I don't want to have to deal with that just yet. If it's someone worth spending the time on, and really explaining it to them, because you feel like they deserve it, or you give that value to them, then I would definitely, like, I would try explaining the concept. But otherwise, why waste your time?
Yeah,
If they
that's
don't
true.
if you don't get it, they don't get it. You just have to, be like, you can go on the surface, be like, hey, this is what I do.
So
And
how do you handle judgments?
I don't really care necessarily. I
You don't give a shit.
Well, I that well, not completely. It really depends on the person, right? If it's someone I care about, then it may affect me, right, a little bit. But if it's someone I
Obviously.
don't know, who cares?
Wait, is your Indian family into this engineer thing?
Uh, no, no, no. I'm not necessarily, like, I'm more interested in computer hardware, so technically be computer engineering, not necessarily computer science.
Oh.
Um, so it's it's very it's like one of my hobbies,
Hmm.
but I'm not committed enough to it. Like, I
Samajh
like to build computers. I'm interested in the hardware that goes into it.
gaya.
But it's otherwise it's just something. It's just one of the things I do. It's just really one of the things I do. And if it takes me somewhere, it takes me somewhere. That's what's my outlook on this whole thing. I try something. If I like it, I stick with it, and we'll see that where that develops. Like, um, but I'm notorious for not initiating. I needed that push. Like, my mom, like, usually helps me out with that. Like, I remember almost 5 years ago, right? I was like, at the time before I lost, like, I was like 12 or something, right? So a lot of baby fat was piling on, and I remember I was fairly inactive at the time, right?
Okay, okay.
So my mom was like, to for me and my sister, hey, there's a local taekwondo place nearby, right? Let's give it a shot. If you like it, you like it. If you don't like it, it's fine. We'll try something else, right? We tried it, and this January, me and my sister got our black belt.
Oh, shit. Wow.
Yeah. So we stuck with it, and me and my sister, we teach on occasion. She helps out by the desk sometimes, with setting up new people. I sometimes help in class,
That's amazing.
so that it turned into something. Yeah.
Black belt, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, you kick my ass in games. Now you can kick my ass in reality. Choose your character. Choose your character, you piece of shit.
I always forget.
So we have talked a lot, and in that I've noticed one thing, that there's a lot of self-reflection coming from you. Oh shit! Yes, yes.
You
One
got me.
time,
Huh.
one f***ing time. So if you are aware, can you talk about self-reflection and is its importance, not importance, but generally your journey with it?
It just kind of goes back to the whole, living and learning philosophy. It's good to see, like, it's like reviewing yourself after, like, a game. See what you did wrong. How you can improve yourself on that. What happened. like reflecting on like past like things is it's a very important thing to do, you know. It's just learning from the past simply, you know. And I'd say that it's a way of almost like accepting yourself, you know. You have to, you know, you have to like see like, okay, yeah, I did this and this, you know, I messed up or whatever, whatever you did, you know. I mean, like you have to be okay with that, that the fact that it happened, and then move on. So self-reflecting doesn't mean like just focus only on the past. It means, you know, looking at it then moving on. It's moving on is the most important part about that.
Moving on and obviously learning from it. Matlab, that's by default there.
Yeah.
I think self-reflection plays a very big role in unschooling, even like in general in life, not
Yeah,
only in unschooling.
for sure.
But like I've seen a lot of people who don't realize that there's a need of self-reflection. So some parents were like, how do we teach our kids self-reflection? So what do you have to say about that? Can you teach self-reflection exactly? Like, I have the answer, but I want your perspective.
I think you can introduce them to it. I don't think you can teach it. I think you can show them that there is another, there's a way that you can, you know, self-examine yourself, you know. But again, it kind of goes back into this whole thing where like the reason why it's so important to move on, and it may seem like a given, you know, for the process, but you can get very stuck into what's happened, you know, how you have been, and obsess over that too much that you forget how to move on, you know. And that's the negative part. If you self reflect with the intention to simply go back to the past and see what you did wrong, then it can be very unhealthy, I feel, you know.
True.
I think that the main aspect of it should be just acknowledging it and then going on from there. But
Damn, that's deep.
going back to what you said, it's definitely very important, but it's not always effective in some cases, you know. Some things can only be really taught, and in that case self-reflection will only get you so far.
So let me try to conclude. We have talked a lot.
Yeah.
We have talked about self-reflection. We have talked about career. We have talked about your journey. We have talked about self-acceptance. We have talked about kind of relationships. We have talked about parents. We have talked about perspectives. Oh my fucking god, so many things. Okay. This will be by far the hardest episode to edit, but it'll be fun. So I think we have covered a lot of topics.
Yeah.
And a lot of good content has come out, and I enjoyed it. It was fucking awesome.
Yeah, it was really fun.
Yeah, thank you for giving me your time, and obviously I want you here again. If you're
Yeah,
okay
thank
with
you for
that.
this opportunity. It was pretty enjoyable.
Damn, thanks. And obviously I would like to again clarify that I'm not paying people to come here. They're coming on their own will.
Oh yeah, that's something you have to put in the disclaimer.
Do you want to say anything? Do you want to end it with something? Do you have something in your mind?
Nothing to really say until the next time, pretty much. I'm looking forward to the other episodes where we kind
other
of go
episodes.
beyond just unschooling, you know.
Yes,
There's so much more to cover.
obviously. So the whole idea is to start from unschooling. But yes, I want to get into politics. I want to get into world. I want to get into the normal stuff and not make us feel like an alien. Yeah, you get it, right? You get it.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pulling out the goop for the lawn, on the park, 12 bucks smart. Busting up the balance of the books. I just hit a leg for the books. Had up on the steak in the books. Pour out the hard and feel, I'm getting nasty. I got the mojo,